You're welcome today. We are about to start the class again, and today we'll be having our third lessons, which is element and principles of design. Okay? I told you I'll be teaching you some topics that cut across a lot of art form, right? So if you are a GK student, you are a picture making student, you are a ceramic student, you are graphics or whatsoever, this topic is a topic that is very, very important, just like the other topics I have been treating. And that is why I'm taking my time to treat them, and I'm preparing the right materials for you guys to follow through. So, as I said, we'll be starting with the topic that is element and principles of design. And this is something I'm believing you've done in primary school, you've done it in creative art, you've also done it in JHS. If it is not important, you wouldn't be doing it all over and all over again. Do you get it? So today we are going to dive into it seriously. So let's just start. As the study goes, and as you can see on the board, these are the basic building blocks and rules on which all works of art are made. That is the element and principles of design. They are the basic blocks and they are the rules. So the basic blocks are the elements, and then the rules that guides you building the blocks or arranging the blocks becomes the principle. Are you getting it? So it's more like building a house. You need blocks to build a house, right? But in order for you to be able to lay your blocks or to arrange your blocks, you need some principles, you need some rules, some guidance in order to do the arrangement, so that at the end of the day, the building will not collapse or the building will not bend in a form. So the rules that are guiding you doing this thing is called the principles of art. And then the elements are the blocks. They are the things you put together to build the artwork. Do you get it? So that's a simple definition. So let's just follow what we are having on the board. Without wasting much time, let's go straight to the definition of element of art. I'll be giving you the material, so whatever I've jumped, I believe you can read it and then understand. We don't have to waste time. This topic is very broad. We'll be doing a lot of things in it. We have to go through the elements today, and then I believe our next class will do the principles, because I'm not sure we can finish everything in one day. It's a very broad topic. And then when we are done with this topic too, we'll go to color, which is another broad topic. Okay, so let's look for the definition. They said the definition of element of art. Element of art are the basic things an artist uses to create an artwork. The basic things an artist uses to create an artwork. That is to say that the things you need to create an artwork, they are the small parts that are put together to form a complete work of art. Do you get that? And these things are, the main elements of art are dot, line, shape, space, texture, form, and color. When you look at these things I just mentioned, without them you can't do any artwork. And if you are to look at any artwork, automatically you will see these things in them. You either see dots put together, or you see lines put together, like we did yesterday in drawing. When we're drawing, we use lines, right? And I told you can also use dots to draw. Shapes. You can also put shapes together to form another drawing, right? Space. Even when you are drawing, you need some spaces at some areas. Texture. This has to do with the roughness or smoothness of a surface, right? And then form has to do with a three-dimensional shape. Shape in a three-dimensional form, that is form. And then we have color. But we are going to dive into them one after the other. Do you get it? So let's go to the first one, which is the dot. It is said, a dot is a mark made by the tip of a tool. A mark. Any mark made by any tool. Your finger can be a tool. An eraser can be a tool. Even your head can be a tool, depending on whatever you are using it for. You can decide to dash your head into paint and use it to paint or to create any art form, right? You can dash your hand, your palm, into paint and use it to do some artworks, right? So at that time, your hand becomes the dot. Do you get it? So a dot is a mark made by the tip of a tool. So any tool at all, it could be stick, it could be a brush, it could be pencil, it could be pen, it could be anything. As long as that thing is a tool you are using to do the artwork, then it may be round, it may be irregular, it may be regular in shape, right? So if it is regular in shape, if it is irregular in shape, no matter what the kind of shape it is, as long as you are using it to do an artwork, it becomes what? A tool. And then the math, whatever the math produces becomes the dot. Okay? All right. So we have regular dots and then we have irregular dots, just like I was saying earlier. When you use your finger to pick a paint and then you use it to drop on a surface, the finger becomes the tool, but it's going to give you a kind of dot which is not regular, right? Assuming you are using a pen or a pencil to create dot, it gives you a regular dot. But even at that, there is a way that the direction at which you are punching the dot, like we did yesterday in the shading. I don't know if you've forgotten, but we did that in shading. You can go and cross-check that note. We did stippling yesterday. So while we were doing the stippling, we were using the dot to create the texture, right? But you could notice that the dots were irregular because of the angle at which the pen or the pencil was used. Do you get it? So we have regular dots and we have irregular dots. Regular dots made with tools that have regular shapes. Tools that have regular shapes, such as a circular or a square-like tip. Do you get it? If the tool has a circular tip or a square-like tip or triangular tip or whatsoever tip, as long as it is mathematical, then it's a regular dot. Do you get it? Then if it becomes an irregular dot, when it is called an irregular dot, then it means that this is made with irregular tool like stone. You can use your what do we call it? Your stone, your stick to create dots, right? It can be any stick. So once you use it to pick an ink and then you stamp it, it becomes a dot, right? And such dots are called irregular dots. And I believe I have some image to show. So let's go down. You see here we have regular dots. We have polygonal dots. We have spherical dots like these two. We have square-like dots. We have rectangular dots. Can you see them? And then here we even have irregular dots, which are of different material, like different tool, from different tool. Some you could see is brush, some you could see that is stick, some are also from stones and whatsoever. Do you get it? So that's the difference in the dot. And these kind of dots can be used to create any artwork, whether drawing or the rest. Sometimes we even use them as textures on an art form. Let's say you produce a ceramic work and then you want to create some textures. Sometimes we use dots to create those textures. Even in leather work, sometimes we do that. Okay? All right, so let's go on to difference between dots and shape. We have not done shape yet, but let's just talk about this before you become confused, because somebody might think these are shapes. Right, it is shape, but look at something. A dot does not contain space inside it. That's the difference. Dots don't have space inside them, but shape has space inside them. That's the difference. All right, now let's move to the next element, which is line. A line is a moving mark made by the tip of a tool. Now, let's analyze this. Let's analyze the definition. Very simple. They said a line is a moving mark made by the tip of a tool. So it means a line can also be a moving dot, right? That can be a definition, because a dot is created by the tip of a tool. So now if that tool, let me use let me pick a pencil. Let's say I pick this pencil as my tool, right? And then I do a dot and then I move. Once I'm moving, I'm creating a line, right? That's the definition. It means a line, it says a line is a moving mark made by the tip of a tool. So it can be any tool at all. It can be your finger, it can be your leg. Sometimes we use our legs to draw lines on the ground. You understand? So that is an example. A line is a moving mark made by the tip of a tool. Now let's look at the types of lines. I believe this you've done severally in your primary, your JHS, and even at SHS level you did it. And I believe you know all these lines. But let's go through them again. Sometimes you know them but you don't know the right names, okay? So now let's go through them. When you see a line that has this curvy form, that is like an arc, it is called curved line. When the line is like an arc, it's called curved line. Now there's another line that looks like a coil. You see the mosquito coil? That form of mosquito coil. You see the way it's going? Such a line is called spiral line. Spiral line. If you see any line that coils like that, it's called what? Spiral line. Now, when you see a line moving in this form, like a wavy form, some people call it a wave line, but the right name is undulating line. A line that is undulating, it's not steady, it's going up and down, it's undulating. So that is undulating line. You can also write wave line, it's correct, but the best name to mention is undulating line, okay? And then we have a straight line. Any line that is not undulating and it's not curvy and it's not spiral and it's as straight as you are seeing this pencil, then it's what? A straight line, right? So a straight line can be like this in this form, or like this, or like this. But now when it is like this, it has its name. When it's like this, it's having its name. When it's like this too, it has its name. And then in any other form, it has its own name. But as long as it is straight, it is a straight line. Do you get it? So it means that we have a vertical line, that is this. We have an horizontal line, which is this. We have a diagonal line, which is this. And we have parallel line. And we have other lines also, right? I can't list all of them here. But I've given you at least how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is not bad. They won't ask you more than 8 lines. If they ask you list or name 3 lines or 4 lines and draw 4 lines and name them, as simple as that. So if you can have any of these ones in your head: undulating line, spiral line, curved line, straight line, vertical line, diagonal line, all these things, I know you know them already, but we are just going through them again. All right, so let's move to the next one, which is shape. This is where you might not really keep the definition in your head, or you might not know it very well. But even at that, we did these things in primary school, JHS and the rest, right? A shape is an enclosed area. A shape is an enclosed area. So when an area is enclosed, it forms a shape. So like I did this, I'm creating a shape. When I do this, I'm creating a shape. When I do this, I'm creating a shape, because I've enclosed the line. Do you understand? So an enclosed area is called a shape. I'm giving you very short definitions so that when you go to the exam halls, you don't forget them. A shape is an enclosed area, as simple as that. An enclosed area created by the tip of a tool, or you can say created by a line. An enclosed area created by a line. I believe that is very simple. You can keep that one in your head, just as it is in the book. A shape is an enclosed area created by a line, or created by lines. By lines. If you want to use lines, by, then it should be lines. But if you want to use created by a line, then it should be a line. Do you get it? All right. Then we have types of shapes. Now let's go into that. Shapes also, we have regular shapes and we have irregular shapes, just like we did in the dots, okay? We have regular shapes and then we have irregular shapes. So the regular shapes are the normal shapes you know, the ones you've been seeing in your mathematical textbook. Those ones are what? Regular shapes. They are shapes that you can measure, you can calculate, you can take dimension of them, right? All right. And then the irregular ones are the ones that you can't take measurement of, right? So as you are seeing on the board, these are regular shapes: triangle, square, rectangle, circle, and then sphere. We have a lot of shapes, right? Trapezium and the rest. I'm just giving you a bit of them. I know you know a lot of them already. So don't forget the definition. An enclosed area created by lines. When lines come together, like let's say a straight line, a diagonal line, and then maybe an undulating line. When they join, when these lines come together and they join, it forms a shape. Okay, so somebody too can say, when lines come together, it forms a shape. It's also a definition. All right. And then I said we have regular shapes and then we have irregular shapes. So let's go to the irregular shapes. Irregular shapes, we have shape like the shape of a stone. The shape of a stone is an irregular shape. The shape of a fruit is an irregular shape. The shape of your palm is an irregular shape. The shape of a plant or a leaf is an irregular shape. And even the cloud, you see how it forms, is an irregular shape. You can't measure these things easily. Do you get it? So irregular shapes are not measured easily. You would have to struggle. Even if you have to measure them, you will not get the accurate dimension. Do you get it? All right, so let's go on. The next one we'll be doing is space. Okay? Space. Space is the distance around, between, or inside a shape. The distance around. So let me use this one of this shape as an example. The distance around this fruit, can you see it? The fruit. The distance around the fruit. The distance inside the fruit. And then they say what? So the distance between them, like this shape and that shape, right? And then the distance inside and the distance around this two is what? A space. So a space is not enclosed. That's the difference. Shape is enclosed, but space is not enclosed. Do you get it? All right. So now we have types of space. We have positive space and then we have negative space. Are you getting it? We have positive space and then we have negative space. Positive space, this space is the space inside a shape. The space that is inside the shape. So let's say, for example, inside this shape, can you see it? That space there is called a positive space, right? But the space around it, outside it, is called the negative space. The space around or outside a shape, the space that is around or outside this shape is a negative space. Are you getting it? Now, so this space is a positive space, right? And this space around is a negative space. Now look at this. This is a positive space for this shape, a positive space. And for this shape also, this is also a positive space. Are you getting it? All right. So let's go down. I believe you understand that one. So let's just go on from space and then we go to what? Texture. I told you the topic is broad, so I want to be a little bit fast, but at the same time making sure you get whatever I'm teaching. All right, so let's see. Texture. Texture refers to the roughness or smoothness of a surface. The roughness or smoothness. The roughness or smoothness of a surface. That is the definition for texture. So texture can be seen as rough or smooth. Now, there are some textures you can see as rough, but when you touch them, they are smooth. Most especially textures that are printed. Let's say I do a design with different shapes, and then I print it out. It will be looking rough because of the arrangement of the shapes. It will look jagged, right? That's when you are looking at it. But when you touch the paper, it is smooth, right? So we have roughness and then smoothness. But in this case, we have the roughness that you can feel. When you touch it, you feel that, right? This thing is, when you touch it, you yourself, you can tell that this is rough. Let's say your computer keyboard. When you use your hand to pass on the keyboard, when you pass on the keyboard, you can see that you feel it as rough, right? But that same keyboard, if it has been printed on something, when you touch it, you wouldn't feel it as rough. It will be smooth because it's printed on a paper. So that takes us to the types of textures, right? Now let's go there. We have the first texture, which is called the actual texture or tactile texture, the same thing. Sometimes they may trick you in your exams. They may say tactile texture. It's the same as actual texture. I quite remembered one of my exams, I saw something like that, tactile texture, instead of actual. So if you don't know the difference, you might be confused, right? Now, this is a texture that can be seen and felt. When you touch it, it feels rough. And then when you see it, it feels rough. When you touch it, it feels smooth. And when you see it, it feels smooth. So it means it doesn't lie. Such texture doesn't lie. It is the actual texture. So we can have an actual texture that when you see it, might be rough, but when you touch it, it's smooth. Looking at it, it becomes rough, but when you touch it, it's smooth. That is the next type of texture. That one is called the visual texture, right? So actual texture, an example of an actual texture is the skin of a crocodile or tortoise. When you see the skin of a crocodile or tortoise, some people say tortoise, I don't even know the one to mention. When you see the skin and you touch it, you can see that it's rough, right? When you touch the skin, I didn't say you should go and touch any crocodile, but when you go to where these galleries, where these art galleries are, sometimes you might see some leathers like that. You see the leather of a crocodile, then you can touch it. Tortoise, and then, yeah, you can see some tortoise also. When you go to most of these museums, these art galleries, these big art galleries, you see those things there. So you can see that the texture of a crocodile is rough, just as you see it. And even like the teeth, it's rough. An example of another texture that you can see, you can feel, just as it is stone. When you pick a stone, if the stone is smooth, you get to know this stone is smooth, just as you are seeing it. And then there are some stones that you can also pick, and then you see that this stone is very rough. When you see it, the way you see it, that is how you feel it. That is actual texture. Another example is towel. Towel. When you take a towel, you see normally towel, because of the thickness, is a bit rough. They made it in that form so that it can absorb water from your skin. So that is an example of actual texture. Smooth surfaces like mirror, or even your phone. Touch your phone. You just put your hand on the phone and then touch it, feel it. You can see it's smooth just like you're seeing it. That is actual texture. Are you getting it? And then these are examples. I told you in every of my class, I'll give you illustrations because I'm teaching art and I want you to see whatever I am teaching. So this is an example of the crocodile skin. Can you see how rough it is? And then the tortoise or the tortoise. And then stone. You can see how rough they are looking. And even the wood, the stick, is looking rough. And this is towel, and then the mirror. The things I use for the examples, I gave you their images so that you can easily understand what I'm saying. Now, we are moving to the next one, which is the visual texture. I spoke about it earlier, but I'm going to talk about it again. This is the texture that can be seen but not felt. What it's trying to mean is that you will see the thing to be rough, but at the end of the day, by the time you touch it, it is smooth. Most of those textures are printed from printed images. Sometimes I can take the skin of a crocodile, right? And then I'll use it as a design, a motif for a printed dress, right? Those of us who are doing textiles, you can see some dresses that have that texture of the crocodile. Sometimes you can see some of snake or whatever. But when you touch it, you can see that it still feels smooth, right? So that is visual texture. It is your eye that tells you whether it is rough or smooth. But when you feel it, it is the opposite. That is visual texture. Don't forget. And then actual texture is what you see, is what you feel. But this, what you see, is not what you feel. That's visual texture. All right. So I said an example is a printed image of a rough surface, right? Batik, tie and dye designs, they look rough, but when you touch them, they don't feel that way. Terrazzo tiles appears rough, but feels smooth when you feel it, right? Now, these are examples. I also have images for that. These are some batik designs, as you are seeing. These are printed images, right? But they look rough. Look at this surface. It looks like the back of a crocodile. But when you touch it, it's very smooth, okay? Now, that takes us to the next topic. Is it next topic or the next point? We are still on the elements, okay? Don't forget that. These are all elements of design. Whatever I'm mentioning are elements of design. All these things, we use them in our design or in our artwork. That's why you could hear element of design or element of art. It's the same thing. Don't be confused. We use them in our artworks. The texture, the color, the line, the shape, the space, the dots, all those things are used in our designs or in our artwork. Now, we are going to the next one. That is form. When they say form, form is just a shape, right? But it's a shape with 3 dimensions, a 3-dimensional shape. A normal shape has a length and width, right? But a form has length, width, and depth. Are you getting it? So, for example, let's say I pick this external hard drive, as you can see here. Though it looks flat, but it has the length, the width, and then the depth this side. So that is what a form is. Form is a 3-dimensional object that have length, width, and then what? Depth. So when they ask you what is a form, you say form refers to a 3-dimensional object that have length, width, and then what? Depth. It's as simple as that. So anything you see, like this eraser, anything you see that has 3-dimensional sides, then it's a form. Anything at all, just look around you, wherever you are seated or wherever you are standing. Anything around you that has a 3-dimensional shape, like this remote, can you see it? It has 3-dimensional shape, so it's a form. But when the thing is flat, like a paper, then it's just a normal shape, right? Just the length and width, okay? Do you get it? All right, so let's give an example. Examples of forms. We have cube. We have cube. I don't know how to describe that. Cube is just like a square-like shape, but has a depth. The depth is just like the dimension of the depth is the same as the dimension of the length and then the width. So that is a cube. Okay, let me give you a simple example. Maggie cube. I believe you know Maggie cube. That small Maggie cube. Not the rectangular one, that small one. That is a cube. That is the shape of a cube. Do you understand? And then how many of you have taken Choco Milo before? Choco Milo. That is the shape of a cube. Do you understand? And then we have a cylinder. A cylinder. The shape of a cylinder. A cylinder. Good. Let's use your gas cylinder. Your gas cylinder. The cylinder you use for heating your food, cooking. That cylinder. You see the shape? Remove the burner from it. Just the cylinder. You see how it looks like? That is a form. It's an example of a form. Because it has the 3 dimensions. The length, the width, and then the depth. Another example is sphere, like the earth or an egg. When you pick an egg, you see how the egg looks. It's also a form. It has these 3 dimensions, okay? And then a box. When I say box, I'm talking about like a carton. Okay, this is an example. This is an example of a box, right? This is an example of a box. So this has 3 dimensions. 1, 2, and then 3. I hope you are not confused. 1, 2, and 3. So 3-dimensional. So it's also what? A form. Don't forget that. Now let's go on. An example of a form also is fruit. Your mango, your orange, and whatever, any fruit at all. It's 3-dimensional. So it has what? A length, width, and depth. A stone, when you pick a stone, it's an example of a form. Even you seated there watching me, you are a form because you have length, your height, your width, and then a depth, your thickness. Do you get it? All right. So I believe with all the examples and then the explanations I've given, you can't tell me that you don't understand what a form is. Then it means you are sleeping. All right, so let's go on. This is an example of a cube. Look at it on the board. Example of a cube. Example of a cylinder. Example of a sphere. Can you see it? A pyramid. It's also a form, a pyramid. That is a triangle that has a depth. It becomes a pyramid. And then this one too, a square that has a depth becomes a box or a cube. Do you get it? So this, and then we have the organic forms. So the geometric forms are the ones I mentioned that are derived from the normal regular shapes you know, right? The regular shapes you know, like the square, the triangle, the rectangle, and the rest. When they begin to have a depth, then it becomes a geometric form. Do you understand? And then we have the organic form. Organic form like fruits. Can you see it? Organic forms like stones. Organic form like football. Organic form like human. Can you see it on the board? All right. So now we are done with form. We are moving to color. This topic is a very broad topic. So we are just going to do the surface of it now in terms of elements of art. But later we'll pick color as a broad topic and then we'll treat it. Because color is one of the things that I told you right from the beginning of our class that there are some topics you can't dodge in your GK exams. And those topics are the topics I'm treating. I'm tackling them. I want to finish with those topics before we go to the other ones. The other ones, if we are not able to finish them, you yourself, you can even be reading about them. Most especially like the histories, the prehistoric art and the rest. The sympathetic magic and the other things. Hellenistic period, Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, those things, you have to be reading them. If we have more time, we'll be treating those ones. But I want to tackle the main topics that are no cut across in art, that you can't dodge them. Topic like drawing, topic like shading, topic like color, topic like element, topic like principles. So I'm taking my time to treat those topics so that you get them into your TIC score. Because at the end of the day, these topics, you are going to meet them at the tertiary. You are going to do them like a course. You are not going to do it like a topical. Element and principles of design is a 1-year course you are going to do at the tertiary. Yes, most especially the art students. I believe, yeah, all the art students, those doing fashion, those doing ceramics, textiles, and the rest, you all do element and principles for 1 year. And then you'll be doing color psychology, I think, for 1 semester or so, 2 semesters. Color psychology. You'll be learning about color. So you can imagine, these topics are not topics you joke with. That is why every year of WASSCE, you must meet them, not might. You must meet them in your GKA, in your picture making, in your graphics and the rest. So I'm taking my time to treat those topics for you to get them very well. Do not take these classes, how will I put it? Like a normal class, right? Don't treat them like a normal class. These are specific topics I'm treating. So just take your time and then learn them. Watch the videos over and over again. Play the audios and let them stick into you. When it happens that way, when you get to the hall and you are confused, you forget everything. Once you remember my voice, you'll be able to write something. Okay? So take them serious. Now let's look at color. We are not going to go in depth. We'll just do the surface of it, because after this element, we'll be doing principles. Then when we are done with the principles of design, we can now dive into color fully. Okay? Don't worry, I'm there for you. So color is what the eye sees when light reflects on an object. It means that every object has color, but you can only see color of anything when there is light. Color does not work without light. When there is no light, there is no color. That is why they simply define color as what the eye sees when light reflects on an object. Color can exist as pigment, and color can also exist as what? Light. Are you getting it? We have color of light, and then we have color of pigment. Color of pigment are those colors that God created naturally that you can see around you, like the green, the blue, the yellow, they're all over. Some are even from our plants. Some are things God has created that have those colors, right? Those are color of pigment. But color of light, they come from the reflection of light. It is light that reflects those colors. An example of color of light is what you see when rain falls and then rainbow forms in the sky. That is color of light. It's an example of color of light. Do you get it? All right. So don't worry, we'll be treating color fully. So we have color of pigment and then we have color of light. And color is what the eye sees when light reflects on an object. That is color. Okay? And then some books will tell you color is the same as hue, and hue is the same as color. And then somebody will ask that, what is hue? If you are saying color is hue, because most of our GKA textbook, that's what they wrote. Color is the same as hue. Hue is the same as color. Who is confusing who? Now let me tell you what hue is. Hue is that thing in color that is able to change another color's identity. I'm speaking grammar, right? Let's go. The thing that is inside color, there's something inside a color before it is called color. That thing that can change another color's identity. Let's say you pick a blue color and then you mix it with red. Once the blue enters into the red's color identity changes to violet. What happens? The blue that comes into the red has a hue in it. So it is that hue that is able to make it change to another color. I believe you understand what hue is now. So it's as simple as that. Hue is what a color has to change another color's identity. The ability for a color to change another color's identity, that is hue. It's as simple as that. Okay. All right. So we'll be treating color. Don't worry. We'll go in deep into color. I did it as a course for 1 full year at Takoradi. So don't worry. I will take my time and explain color to you. So I believe we have come to the end of today's class. We'll continue tomorrow. Bye-bye. Please be reading the notes and be listening to the audio.